Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Laws, and I'm visiting with you all today as a member of Therap Services, an electronic record system for providers, families, and individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we are also a proud technology partner of the Life Course Nexus. So we are really excited to be here with you today as part of the Friday Feature Spotlight, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you some of the things that we're doing at Therap relative to the charting the life course domains. For our time together this afternoon, I'm going to be, as I said, discussing the life course domains, but I'm going to be talking about them in a slightly different context from that we're typically used to. So for those of you that may not be as familiar with the domains, what I'm referring to are the areas you see on your screen here, the areas of daily life and employment, community living, social and spirituality, healthy living, safety and security, advocacy and engagement, and supports for families and supports for services. And essentially how most of us know these domains are as a framework for envisioning a meaningful and enriching life and future for individuals. In many ways, this framework serves as a foundation for helping individuals build a comprehensive plan for their future, with the idea being that if we can support someone to achieve positive outcomes in each of these domains, the likely result is an overall fulfilling life for the individual. And while certainly this is the primary way of utilizing the life course domains and tools, I want to speak with you all today about another role that the domains can play in guiding services and helping folks achieve meaningful outcomes at an organizational and provider level. As a former service provider myself, having worked in virtually every role within provider organizations, from direct support professional to program management to administration and kind of everything in between, certainly I have a lot of firsthand experience, as I know many of you do, with the fact that sometimes evaluating our practice at that 30,000 foot organizational level can be very difficult. We are all very comfortable with the work that we do with individuals, working on the ground with the unique needs and strengths and supports required to effectively serve people. But when we step back and try to evaluate our practice across a large population of people that we may be supporting, it gets a little more difficult to figure what metrics, what key indicators that we have to evaluate how we're doing broadly. We're kind of stuck in a spot of evaluating apples and oranges and bananas because all of the people that we support are unique. So it's hard to get that broader picture. So for today's purpose, what I want to talk about is the role that the life course domains can play in creating that framework for evaluating the entire organization. And what I'm going to do is utilize our application, Therap, to help illustrate my point. Not that Therap is a requirement for this, but hopefully it will help you guys see some of the ways that this can play within your particular organization. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the Therap dashboard for documentation of services. And we're really going to start with something with which I think we're all very familiar and comfortable. Most of us, as I said a moment ago, we're used to tracking data at an individual level. So within our system, where our staff who are providing services and support can drill into the record for David here and demonstrate what we're doing supporting him in the community and in the development of skills. So we may have particular things that are important to David, outcomes that he's working towards, like acquiring and maintaining a job, working with animals, getting closer to living in his own place, participating in other community activities, and right on down the line with various areas that David has demonstrated are important to him. And so it gives staff a framework for documenting services provided and at what level David's able to meet those particular types of outcomes, either independently with support from staff or through natural supports or whatever mechanism we want for tracking that. Again, this is something with which I think we're very familiar. But again, as we were talking about, we're not just talking about David when we're evaluating our organization. We're talking about David and Mary and Alice and William and everybody else we serve. And they all have a unique set of data points that we're collecting. So how do we evaluate the agency overall? That's where utilizing the life domains or similar frameworks can come in as a guide for how we evaluate our entire practice. So one of the ways that we do it within Therap is through the ability for an agency to create what we call an outcome measure type. And so I'll show you an example briefly about the life domains, where we've identified these domains that we were talking about earlier of community living, daily life and employment and so forth, and we've identified those as the primary domains with which we want to evaluate our organization. Once we've established this as a framework, we can now take the individualized data that we have within the system, where I can say, I want to add David's data within our ability to identify broad domains across the agency. So all of that data that we're collecting for David, we are able to map over to our broader framework. So David has a particular interest in working with animals. That obviously fits within the bucket of daily life and employment. He wants to live in the community and have his own place. Certainly that fits within community living. It may also fit within safety and security. Certainly a lot of the things that we look at with the individuals we support may fit in multiple buckets, multiple domains. Certainly there's nothing to prevent that. Well, as we go through and look at David's unique information and add it to the various buckets, what we're essentially doing is taking the individualized language of David and translating it over into the common language that we want to use to be able to evaluate our entire organization. So after I have gone in and mapped that data, my staff are continuing to document services provided to David as they always do. I am now able to roll that data into, and I'm going to go over to our business intelligence dashboards where we're able to do a lot of aggregate data reporting and visualization. I can now see at an organizational level how we're doing across all of these domains. I can see with a percentage count of the data going in showing whether or not individuals are able to meet these life domains that we've identified here on their own independently with paid supports, with family or natural supports, or if they're not able to participate. We also have in our system the ability to look at what we call participation rates. And when we refer to participation rates, it's basically the level of engagement we have with the individuals that we support. In this instance, in 2020, of the total population of people that we support, we have 12% of those individuals with whom we are engaged in these domain areas. Obviously, that's a number we would want to drive up, but we can see where we're spending our time and our investment supporting people and continue to try to grow that number. We can also drill into the specific framework domains, whereby we can see how we're performing within each of the domains. And this really gives us a mechanism and a solid metric for evaluating our entire practice, not just at an individual level, but across the entire population of people that we serve. So those dashboards and the data that we were looking at with David, obviously that's not real data, it's a demonstration account, but hopefully it gives you an idea of some of the options that you have for pulling that together. So the question then becomes, what do we do with it? Well, having that framework and those life domains in place really gives organizations a way of considering strategic planning across the entire agency to identify and address areas of need, gives folks the ability to distinguish what they do through more tangible outcomes in performance data, rather than the traditional box-checking compliance measures that so many of us are used to. Finally, it also gives a mechanism for aligning with value-based reimbursement structure, whereby organizations, the way that they're reimbursed and paid for their services is based more on the achievement of outcomes rather than simply the completion of particular checks and activities. And then finally, the reason that we're all here, having a framework like this in place will help agencies better utilize the information that they're gathering so that they can get better at the supports they provide to individuals. So that's, again, a quick snapshot of kind of the idea of being able to apply the life domains at an organizational level. I hope that's been interesting information for you all. So whether you use Therap or any other data collection device, I do hope that this can help inform your services and help you better evaluate your practice. So thank you for joining me today, and feel free to contact me with any questions or follow-up. And with that, goodbye, everyone.